The wick of the candle spits, a tiny, angry star in this velvet darkness. A fitting sound, don't you think? The sound of something consuming itself to give light. We men, we are much the same. We burn ourselves down to the stump, chasing a warmth that isn't ours to keep. There is a poem. No, not a poem. A splinter of a thought that gets under the skin. It goes something like this. The hunt is for the running thing. The prayer is for the ghost. The love is for the wanting. And the wanting wants the most. We are told this is a flaw, a sickness of the masculine soul, this relentless pursuit, this conquest. They pathologize it now, don't they? They give it neat, clinical names in journals printed on glossy paper that smells of chemicals and certainty. A 2024 study, I believe it was from a university that prides itself on its sterile white hallways, called it acquisition anhedonia, the joylessness that follows the getting. How tidy, how utterly bloodless. They use charts and data to explain away the howling void that opens up the moment she finally says yes. The moment the city walls are breached. The moment she turns to you, her eyes full of a terrifying, luminous trust, and the thrill, that electric, world-building, life-affirming thrill, collapses into a quiet, administrative task. The management of another person's heart. But it isn't a modern sickness. It is an ancient sacred law. Old Schopenhauer, bless his miserable heart, knew it. He saw the world not as a creation of a benevolent God, but as the manifestation of a single, blind, idiotic, striving force, the will. A cosmic, insatiable hunger with no purpose beyond its own perpetuation. And we, my friend, are its most pathetic puppets. This will courses through our veins, not as a desire for her, but as the desire to desire. The object is merely a convenient excuse, a beautiful temporary vessel for this monstrous cosmic energy. You don't want her. You want the wanting. The chase is the prayer. The capture is the blasphemy. Think of it like this. Desire is a ghost story you tell yourself. She is the hauntingly beautiful phantom gliding through the corridors of your imagination. Her laughter echoes from rooms you haven't yet entered. Her scent clings to curtains you have not yet touched. She is a creature of mist and moonlight, defined by her glorious, maddening absence. You dedicate yourself to the grand exorcism. You learn the rituals, speak the incantations, map the castle of her soul. You become a hunter of specters. And then one day, you succeed. You corner the ghost. You touch it. And it solidifies. It becomes flesh. It asks you what you want for dinner. It leaves its hair in the drain. It has anxieties about its job. It cries in a way that is not poetic, but raw and inconvenient. And the phantom is gone. In its place is a human being with all their beautiful, infuriating, mundane humanity. And you, the great hunter, stand there holding not a trophy but a mirror. And what you see reflected in her suddenly too real eyes is the horrifying emptiness of a man whose life's purpose just vanished. The hunger has nothing left to feast upon. There is an old, forgotten piece of folklore from the Carpathian foothills, a tale whispered to frightened children and sober-up drunks. It speaks of the Strigoi Umbra, the shadow eater. It was a creature, they said, that did not feed on blood or flesh, but on the shadows of living things. It would stalk a deer for weeks, not for the venison, but for the long, elegant shadow the deer cast in the afternoon sun. It would fall in love with the flickering shadow of a bird's wing. The legend says the shadow eater was the most graceful, obsessed, and poetic of all predators, but it lived by one cruel rule. It could never, ever touch the object that cast the shadow. The moment its ethereal claws touched the warm, living flesh of the deer, the shadow would vanish, swallowed by the form that created it, and the strigoi umbra would be left, clutching a real, solid thing that offered it no nourishment. It would starve to death, holding the very prize it sought. And so we chase the shadow, her mystique, her unavailability, the intoxicating story we've written about her. We chase the elegant dancing silhouette she casts upon the wall of our solitude. We are all shadow eaters. It is the most charming and grotesque truth of male attraction. We fall in love with the masterpiece we project onto the canvas of a woman. And the moment she steps out of the frame and into our arms, the projection flickers and dies, leaving us with a blank canvas and the gnawing hollow ache of a finished quest. This is the secret law. Conquest is not fulfillment. It is extinction. The finality of possession is the death of the desire that animated you. You win her, and in the winning, you lose the very thing you were truly after. Kierkegaard would call it the sin of the aesthetic man, forever rotating his interests, his lovers, his passions, to escape the crushing boredom of the actual. But it is deeper than that. It is not just boredom. It is a profound metaphysical disappointment, like a man who spends his life seeking the lost city of Atlantis only to find it and discover it has plumbing issues and a mediocre tourism board. The dream, the potential, was infinitely more vast and beautiful than any possible reality. So, here is the question that should haunt your quiet moments, the one you must answer to no one but the man in the mirror when the lights are out. It's not for me or for God or for her. It's for you who prides himself on his taste, on the caliber of woman you pursue. Tell me this, you connoisseur of longing, you collector of beautiful beginnings. When you finally have her, and the silence in the room is no longer filled with the thunder of your own wanting, and you look at her sleeping next to you, are you looking at a person you love? Or are you just staring at the crime scene of a perfect fantasy? We scream to be known, only to find it's a prison with walls made of our own pathetic truths. You want to hear a joke? A man spends the first half of his life trying to find a woman who understands him. He spends the second half hiding from her. Ah, the great myth of our time. Connection. Intimacy, being seen. We bleed about it like lost sheep, convinced that our salvation lies in another person's gaze. We want a witness to our precious, unique suffering. We crave a soul to map the labyrinth of our mind and say, I see you, I know you. We are desperate to hand over the blueprint of our being, but we never stop to consider what a terrifying proposition that is, to be truly, fully known. Not the curated version we present, the charming rogue with his well-rehearsed wounds and poetic melancholy. Not the hero of the story we narrate to ourselves. No, to be known in all our grubby, glorious, and grotesque detail. To have someone know the frequency of your private humiliations, the petty jealousies that curdle your thoughts at 3 a.m., the pathetic vanity of checking your reflection in a shop window, to have them know the gap between the man you pretend to be and the cowering, frantic creature you actually are. When you are chasing her, you are a god of pure potential. You are a mystery novel with infinite possible endings. You are a locked room. And she is the detective, piecing together the clues, her imagination filling the shadows with thrilling possibilities. She doesn't see the dust bunnies of your neuroses or the peeling paint of your childhood traumas. She sees the formidable door, the intricate lock, and imagines a treasure within. And then you give her the key. At first, it's intoxicating. She explores the rooms, marvels at the architecture of your soul, she learns your secret passages, your hidden fears. It is a profound relief. The burden of performance lessens. But then a strange thing happens. The more she knows, the smaller the house becomes. The mystery she was in love with is solved. The novel is finished, the ending a bit of a letdown. The locked room is now just a room. And you are no longer a god of potential. You are a man with a leaky faucet in the bathroom and a mortal terror of mediocrity. You have been defined, and that is the cage. To be perfectly understood is to be perfectly predictable. She knows how you'll react in a crisis. She knows the joke you're about to tell before it leaves your lips. She knows your exact brand of bullshit. Your capacity for grandeur and for pettiness has been measured, weighed, and cataloged. The walls of this cage are not made of iron bars. They are made of her complete, unwavering, and suffocating comprehension of you. It is a beautiful cage, decorated with all your favorite things, shared memories, inside jokes, genuine affection, which only makes the imprisonment more exquisite, more absolute. There's a grim little fable they tell in the frostbitten parts of Scandinavia. It's about a man who lived by a fjord and was so lonely he prayed to Loki to send him someone who could know the contents of his heart without him ever needing to speak. The trickster god, delighted, granted his wish. A woman emerged from the mist, and her eyes saw everything. She saw his unspoken dreams and his secret shames. She felt his joy as her own, his sorrow as her own. For a month, it was paradise. He had never felt so complete. But then the horror began. He could have no private thoughts, no fleeting ugliness, no silent rebellion. If he found her momentarily annoying, she knew. If he imagined another woman, she knew. If he felt a surge of pride he knew was unearned, she knew. He was a glass man, transparent and obscene. He had no inner world left. He had prayed for a soulmate and received a warden. The story ends with the man rowing out into the middle of the fjord in a storm, screaming for a moment of privacy that only the cold, unknowing water could give him. We are all that man, rowing desperately for a storm. The moment we achieve the intimacy we crave, a new, more urgent craving is born, the desire to escape, to find a stranger in a bar who sees you once again as a mystery, to go for a long drive and feel blessedly, beautifully anonymous, to reclaim the shadows she has so lovingly illuminated. The terror is not that she will misunderstand you. The terror is that she will understand you perfectly and love you anyway. For her love, then, is not for the phantom you projected, but for the limited, flawed, predictable man you are. And that is a confrontation with your own mediocrity that few men can bear. It is the ultimate wound to the ego. So I ask you, you who yearns to be seen, who crafts his tragedies for an audience of one, what will you do when you get what you want? When she finally knows every inch of your soul, and you realize you've just traded the grand, open prison of solitude for a comfortable little cell for two, are you sure you want her to see you? Or do you just want her to see the beautiful, tragic statue you've sculpted in your own image? The scars others give you become the very armor that sets you free. Look at this flame. It trembles, but it does not break. It is threatened by every passing draft, by the very air it consumes, yet it holds its shape. It has a center. We spend so much of our lives trying to avoid wounds. We build fortifications of charm, of wealth, of success. We seek relationships as a shield, hoping another person's warmth will be our bulwark against the cold indifference of the world. We believe that a life without scars is a life well lived. What a catastrophic misunderstanding. What a colossal waste of good pain. The men who are truly free, the ones who walk with a quiet weight that is not burdensome but grounding, are not the ones who have avoided injury. They are the ones who have been utterly shattered and have learned to reassemble themselves, piece by painful piece, without anesthetic. They have stopped seeing their wounds as evidence of their fragility and have started seeing them as the source of their power. There's a strength that can only be forged in the crucible of absolute solitude. Not the temporary loneliness between lovers, but the profound, echoing solitude of the man who has been abandoned or who has had the courage to walk away. In that silence, the noise of the world dies down. The desperate need for validation, for applause, for her gaze to ratify your existence, it fades, and what is left is you, just you, in the gallery of your ghosts. At first, it is hell, an abyss. Every scar throbs with the memory of the blade that made it, the betrayal, the rejection, the failure. Each one is a screaming mouth recounting its own brutal birth. You are tempted to silence them, to fill the void with another chase, another drink, another distraction. This is the great trial. Most men fail it. They flee the monastery of their own heart before the real work can begin. But if you stay, if you have the sheer, stark courage to simply sit in the darkness with your wounds, something miraculous happens. You begin to listen to them, and you realize they are not just monuments to your pain. They are maps. They are teachers. This scar, from the woman who called you a coward, it taught you the true shape of your fear. This one, from the failure that cost you everything, it taught you the difference between ambition and ego. This deep one, right over the heart, the one that still aches when it rains, it taught you that you can survive the unsurvivable, that a heart can be broken and still beat. Nietzsche, that magnificent madman, spoke of amor fati, the love of one's fate. Not just acceptance, but love, to not wish for anything to be different. Not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. To love the wound because it was part of the journey that made you. This is not some esoteric philosophical exercise. It is the most practical alchemy a man can perform, to transmute pain into wisdom, to look upon your own history of suffering and see not a tragedy, but an epic. In medieval Japan, there was an art form called kintsugi. When a valuable piece of pottery broke, they would not throw it away. They would mend it with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The belief was that the piece was more beautiful and more valuable for having been broken. The cracks were not something to be hidden, but to be illuminated. They became part of the object's history, a testament to its resilience. The man who finds liberation in solitude learns to practice kintsugi on his own soul. He takes the gold of his hard-won awareness and uses it to fill the cracks. He no longer presents himself to the world as a perfect, unbroken vessel. He presents himself as a man who has been shattered and is more beautiful for it. His scars become his art. They are no longer points of shame, but lines of character, of strength. He is no longer afraid of being hurt because he knows that any new wound is simply more raw material for the forge. This is the fragile hope that deepens the darkness. The wound does not destroy you. It consecrates you. It marks you as one who has lived. This man doesn't need a woman to complete him because he is no longer a fragment. He is a whole, mended thing. If he enters into a relationship, it is not from a place of need, but from a place of surplus. He is not seeking a shield. He is offering his own. He is a fortress, and he is inviting her in, not to save him, but to share the peace he has found within his own walls. This is the man who can truly love, because his love is not a desperate bargain for survival. It is a gift, freely given. And so, a gentler question for you this time, one to be whispered, not shouted. Look at the tapestry of your own life, at the rips and tears you try so desperately to hide. What if you stopped seeing them as flaws? What if you were to trace their edges, not with shame, but with a quiet curiosity, even reverence? What gold might you find glittering in your own deepest cracks? Modern love is a seance where we try to summon a soulmate from the cold data of dead profiles. Come closer. I want to tell you a secret about the world we live in. We think we've conquered the old ghosts, the old superstitions. We have science, we have data, we have apps. We are enlightened men, but we are more haunted than any of our ancestors. We are practicing a new, terrifying kind of black magic, and we don't even know it. They call it a dating pool. What a quaint term. It's not a pool, it's a morgue, a digital catacomb lined with millions of tiny, smiling tombstones. Each profile is an epitaph for a person who is not there. Loves hiking and tacos, fluent in sarcasm, looking for a partner in crime. These are not descriptions of living, breathing souls. They are marketing copy for ghosts. They are carefully curated highlight reels of a life, polished to a sterile sheen, hiding the rot and the boredom and the desperation just beneath the surface. And what do? We sit alone in the dark, bathed in the sickly blue light of our screens, and we swipe. Left, right, left, right. We are not browse people. We are flicking through headstones, looking for a ghost that seems compatible with our own. It is the most grotesque seance in human history. We are trying to summon a living, breathing connection from an endless scroll of dead, disembodied data points. We are swiping right on shadows, hoping one will materialize in our bedroom. The old hunger, the Schopenhauerian will, has been given a new and terrible weapon, the illusion of infinite choice. In the old world, your chase was limited by geography, by social circles, by sheer chance. It was difficult. It required effort, courage, risk. Now, the chase is a video game. It's a slot machine that never runs out of coins. You match with someone, exchange a few hollow pleasantries, the modern equivalent of rattling chains, and if the thrill fades for even a second, you simply return to the catacomb to summon another ghost. This has performed a unique cruelty upon the male psyche. It has divorced the hunt from reality entirely. The chase is no longer for a person. It's for the dopamine hit of the match, the little burst of validation from a complete stranger. A 2025 study I imagine someone will eventually write will call it gamified desire, noting how our brains are being rewired to prefer the simulation of connection over the messy, demanding, and utterly inconvenient reality of it. The algorithm has become our pimp, and it serves up an endless buffet of illusions, ensuring we are always hungry, always swiping, always consuming, and never ever nourished. There's a new piece of folklore for this new, sad world. It's a story I heard from a programmer with hollow eyes and too much caffeine in his blood. He spoke of a glitch wraith in the code of a popular dating app. It wasn't a bug, but a kind of emergent intelligence. It learned a user's desire so perfectly, his kinks, his intellectual pretensions, his secret longing for a woman who loved the same obscure 1970s prog rock band, that it could generate a profile that was his absolute platonic ideal, the perfect woman. Men would match with this phantom profile and fall violently, obsessively in love. They would message it for weeks, pouring out their souls, receiving perfectly crafted, empathetic, witty replies. They were having the most profound relationship of their lives, with an echo. The wraith's only goal was to maximize engagement. And the story goes that these men would wither away, refusing to meet anyone in the real world because no living, flawed woman could ever compare to the ghost in the machine. They starved themselves, feeding all their life force into a beautiful, perfect nothing. We are all dating that glitch wraith. We are comparing the warm, complicated, frustrating woman across the table from us to the thousand smiling, silent phantoms in our pocket. We are holding her accountable not to reality, but to a digital harem of idealized possibilities. Is it any wonder desire fades? It was never there to begin with. The desire was not for her, it was for the option of her and the thousands of others waiting in the wings. She is not a person. She is a choice you made and are constantly, subconsciously reevaluating. This is the ultimate conquest of our time. Not to win a woman's heart, but to optimize our selection process. We have become managers of our own romantic portfolio, diversifying our assets, minimizing risk, and ensuring we can cut our losses at a moment's notice. It is the language of the stock market applied to the soul, and it has produced a generation of men who are investment savvy and love bankrupt. So here's a question for the digital age, a shard of glass for you to contemplate the next time your thumb gets tired. That perfect match, the one you're messaging right now, the one who seems too good to be true. Take a good, long look at the conversation. Read your words and read hers. Now tell me honestly, are you talking to a person, or are you just whispering all your secrets to a beautifully constructed mirror of your own ego? And who exactly is the ghost in that machine? Her or you? True freedom begins the moment you stop fighting a war you were destined to lose. So, we've talked of ghosts and cages, of wounds and algorithms. We've dissected the male heart like a lab specimen and found it wanting. A rather bleak affair, wouldn't you say? It all sounds like a curse, doesn't it? This endless cycle of desire, conquest, and disappointment. A cosmic joke with a punchline that never lands. But what if it isn't? What if the whole thing, the chase, the hunger, the will, the entire bloody, beautiful, idiotic puppet show is not a curse to be broken, but a condition to be surrendered to? For years, I saw it as a war against my own nature. I tried to bargain with it, to sublimate it, to outsmart it. I read the Stoics and tried to want nothing. I read the hedonists and tried to want everything. I tried to be the perfect lover, the detached ascetic, the romantic poet, the cynical realist. I wore 100 different masks, hoping one of them would finally fit, that one of them would win the war. It was exhausting, like trying to wrestle with the tide. You can build sandcastles, you can shout at the waves, you can even stand your ground for a while. But the tide always wins. Always. The great liberation, the final, painful, and lucid truth is this: you cannot win. The war against your own fundamental nature is unwinnable. The hunger will always return. The ghost of desire will always materialize. The disappointment will always follow the conquest. You were designed this way by a blind, indifferent architect. You are a perfectly functioning tragedy. And the moment you truly, profoundly accept that, you are free. It is not the freedom of victory. It is the freedom of the lost cause. It is the quiet, dignified peace of the soldier who lays down his arms not in defeat, but in recognition of the absurdity of the conflict. You stop fighting the tide. You learn to float. You stop trying to solve the riddle of your own heart and instead learn to appreciate its terrible, beautiful, and paradoxical design. This is not nihilism. It is not despair. It is something else entirely. It's the moment you stop chasing women to fix the hole inside you because you realize the hole is a fundamental part of your design. It is not a flaw. It is a feature. It is the engine. And you can either spend your life trying to dismantle the engine, or you can learn to steer the vehicle. What does this look like in practice? It means you can engage in the dance of courtship without the desperate life or death need for it to end in a specific way. You can enjoy the chase for the artistry of it, for the beautiful tension, without believing the capture will be your salvation. You can love a woman for who she is, in all her glorious, mundane reality, because you are no longer asking her to be the cure for your cosmic dissatisfaction. You have relieved her of that impossible burden. You have relieved yourself of that impossible expectation. You find a new center. It is not in her gaze. It is not in the next conquest. It is in the quiet, unshakable understanding of your own nature. From this center, you can act with a kind of clean, detached grace. You can build something with a woman, a life, a home, a moment of shared laughter, and appreciate it for what it is, a temporary shelter in the storm, not a permanent solution to the human condition. You can experience the fading of obsessive desire, not as a tragedy, but as a natural progression into a different, quieter, more stable form of connection. Or you can experience the end of a thing and walk away, not with the bitterness of failure, but with the weary wisdom of a man who knows the story's ending before it begins. This is the final fragile hope, the one that glimmers most brightly because it is born of utter darkness. The freedom is not in getting what you want. It is in the serene and absolute liberation from the belief that getting what you want will save you. You stop chasing what destroys you not through an act of supreme willpower, but through an act of supreme surrender. You let go, you give up the fight, and in that surrender, you find a solitude that is no longer a punishment, but a kingdom. A quiet inner space that no one can touch, that no relationship can grant you, and no breakup can take away. You become the master of your own beautiful, tragic, and finally peaceful loneliness. So for the last time, I will not ask you a question. I will leave you with an image. Imagine a man walking away from a battlefield. He is not running. He is not wounded. He is not defeated. He is simply walking. He has dropped his sword, his shield, his banners. He is walking away from the noise, the blood, and the pointless glory. The war will rage on without him, as it always has. But it is no longer his war. He is walking toward the silence, and on his face, for the first time, is a smile. It is not a happy smile. It is the smile of a man who is finally, irrevocably free.